So what is going on, guys? I am Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video. Now today I wanted to talk about a storyline in Zombies that never really gets spoken about. I feel like it's the forgotten part of Zombies. As you guys know, on my channel I do a Q&A series where I answer questions from you guys to do with the Zombies storyline, but what I've noticed over the years is I only ever really get questions about the Aether story. There's rarely anything about Chaos. You could say, well, that's just because it's new. It isn't as evolved as the Aether story, so there's not as much to know, but the other side of that argument is, well, there is quite a bit of mystery surrounding it. Because we're not very familiar to it, a lot of people don't know as much about Chaos as they do compared to Aether. So on the other hand, you'd think people would ask me more questions about it, but they don't. Honestly, I would say in terms of ratio, there is one Chaos question to every 300 to 400 Aether questions. That's just based on how many comments I get per video. And even without that, it's clear to see, just from the amount of videos that there are on it, the Chaos story just doesn't have the interest. So I thought today I want to go over what happened, why aren't people as interested, and really just ask the question, is the Chaos story a failure? And more importantly, will we see it return in Treyarch's next game? As always, if you do enjoy the video, don't forget to drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed, but let's get into it. Here we go. So first off, I want to talk about the storyline itself, because in terms of gameplay, maps, characters, features, I don't think there's anything wrong. In fact, I would argue with those points that I've just made. For Black Ops 4, Chaos was better than Aether. Chaos had 9, Voyage of Despair, Dead of the Night and Ancient Evil. Aether had Classified, Blood of the Dead, Alpha Omega and Tag der Toten. In my personal opinion, 9 is one of the best maps, Ancient Evil is good. I don't like Dead of the Night and Voyage. And for Aether, Blood of the Dead is okay, Classified is, again, just okay. I'm not keen on Alpha Omega, and the same goes for Tag der Toten. But the thing is, all of the Aether maps were remakes. We've played them all before, so you would think they'd be better. I wanted new maps for Aether and BO4, we never got it. We got new maps for the Chaos storyline, and I can't help but feel if the Chaos maps were used for Aether, they would have been played 10 times more. The features in both Chaos and Aether are pretty much the same. They both had special weapons, they both had the same guns. Gameplay wise, besides from characters, there wasn't really any difference. Obviously, I think the Aether characters are way better. That's not to say that the Chaos crew were bad, there just wasn't the same connection or love there that we built up with Richtofen and the crew over the few years. You can say, well, that's not their fault, it's something you gain over time, but with the Aether characters, I feel like that connection was gained straight away. They were funny, they were interesting. What was so good about Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey in the beginning is their Ultimus versions were very stereotypical. Your stereotypical Russian drinking vodka, your stereotypical American where, as Richtofen says in his own words, eating his apple pies and playing baseball. There was Richtofen who during that time was working with Group 935, this experimental organisation who were also working with the Nazis. And then there was Takeo, who, let's be honest, back in the beginning there probably was some racist stereotypes in there, but there was something about them that was very likeable. They were funny. The Chaos crew aren't that. There's nothing bad about them, but they're not funny. They're a bit too serious in my opinion. The voices, their voice actors don't sound, I guess, stereotypical or unique. They just sound like your average character. Yeah, they're just okay, and I guess a great example for this is when they were killed, when we saw Bruno kill Shaw in Ancient Evil, or when the characters all died in Dead of the Night. I didn't see any emotional reactions, whereas if you compare that to Aether, Richtofen's death, or any of the deaths of our other characters, whether it be Dempsey and Der Eisendrache, Takeo and Zetsubo no Shima, it was emotional. With the Chaos characters, it's like, yeah, they're dead, yeah, I don't really give a shit. So that's my first point. There wasn't anything special about the characters. But I don't think that defies whether Chaos was good or bad. So if it wasn't the maps and it wasn't really the characters, then the only thing that leaves is the storyline. And that's what lacked for me. I'm a story person, my channel doesn't revolve around gameplay, it revolves around the storyline, and that's why I'm not as invested in Chaos, because I just didn't find the storyline interesting. Quickly going over it because I'm nowhere near as familiar with it as I am with Aether, but it gets off on a bad foot straight away because in order to learn about our characters, you have to read the Zombies comics. That tells you how the crew came together. If you just play the maps and do the Easter egg, you're not going to learn this. You kick off straight away where they're a group. You don't learn that through gameplay and chaos. The story revolves around a matter called Prime Materia. This is what created the zombies. It was a resource that was mined out of the earth, and with it, ancient rulers, kings, priests, and emperors created powerful and prospering civilizations. However, over time, Prime Materia began to consume them, their benevolence turned to greed, and they stopped caring for their own people. One by one, their civilizations fell, and wars were waged. Thus, the Prime Materia was extinguished. However, humanity found a way to create endless supplies of it. This knowledge was deemed too dangerous and that mankind couldn't be trusted, and so men of science, philosophy and reason came together to protect and keep that knowledge safe. They were known as the Nine. Their collection of knowledge grew as mankind progressed. Each new discovery made was secured by the Nine to preserve it from humanity, and over the centuries, their collection became legend and mankind's ultimate pursuit. But the Nine were only mortals, and as such were affected by their thoughts and beliefs. Pretty much from there, they go on to release the knowledge back into the world, and decide that only those who are worthy can access it. So that's pretty much how it started. There are events in between. Our maps pretty much involve Scarlet on a rescue mission to find her father. She joins up with his former friends who are Bruno, Shaw and Diego. They help her on her mission to retrieve him. Along the way they come across the Ancient Order, where they have to travel to these certain maps such as 9 and Voyage of Despair in order to complete these Sentinel trials, which will give them the knowledge. And in the end, they travel to Ancient Evil, where they find that Scarlet's dad has been turned into stone by Medusa. The story involves a lot of mythology, which is interesting to me because I like that kind of thing, but in zombies it kind of feels weird. We have these ancient characters such as Perseus and Pegasus and Medusa, but Treyarch are doing their own story, but I don't know, it kind of feels weird. The story sounds pretty interesting from reading it, but if you've done it for yourself and doing these Easter eggs, I don't know, I just didn't feel that interested or as excited to learn about what was going to happen next. And a great example of that is the ending. In Ancient Evil, we were left on a cliffhanger where quite a few different things happen. The Oracle is revealed to be Medusa. A few people already guessed that beforehand, so that wasn't too surprising. It seems like Scarlet was left unconscious. I don't know what Medusa did to her, and pretty much the only character left was Diego, whilst Medusa went to the Great Library. The fact that we were left on a cliffhanger tells us that Treyarch intended for the Chaos story to carry on. I'll talk more about that in a bit, but yeah, just recapping on the story, I think it all depends on your preference. But for me, I just never really felt that involved. Unlike Ether, where it's always, or at least in the beginning, not so much in the end, but there was always speculation. There was nothing ever set in stone. Get it? Set in stone because Medusa, stone. A lot of the time back in World at War and Black Ops 1, even BO2, it felt like we were making up the story and then Treyarch would make it come true later on. There was a lot of room for theory, whereas with Chaos it's all set out in front of you. There's not really any guessing or speculation. Even with the big reveal of Oracle being Medusa, you could already guess that before, it wasn't surprising. So with all of that out of the way, having discussed what my problems with Chaos are, an uninteresting story, okay characters, 50% of the maps being good, 50% being bad. Eli, are you stating facts there? Are you talking for everyone? You are, aren't you? No, I'm not. Just calm down. Well, I've got a different opinion and I don't like yours. And so now, having gone over everything that makes Chaos, going back to my original question, was Chaos a failure? I would say yes, and I think Treyarch would agree. In no way do I believe it lived up to its potential. Having seen the marketing for BO4, most of it was catered around Chaos. Even the limited edition, you got Chaos characters as pin badges, you got the mystery box from the Chaos storyline. They definitely wanted to push this more than Ether, since they knew that Ether was coming to an end. I think Treyarch intended for this to be the new zombie story, but it's clear to see it didn't work out. Now, whether or not they're going to be continuing with this is another question. That was 100% their intention originally. They even stated that. They said that Chaos will be continuing, but that was the end of it for season 1, meaning there was supposed to be a season 2. What that means exactly, originally a lot of people thought that we're going to have a season 2 for Black Ops 4. That never came to be. Possibly they meant season 2 of Chaos will continue in their next game, which seems to be this year. But the ultimate question is, will Chaos continue? That was Treyarch's original plan, but after seeing the reception, could they decide to start a whole new story? A lot of developers who worked on the Chaos story, the main one being Jason Lundell, have left Treyarch. Chaos was his thing, so would Treyarch carry on without him being there? It was partly his idea. Maybe this would be the perfect time to start something new, but then again, like I said, we were left on a cliffhanger in BO4. Would they seriously leave it like that without finishing it up? I would also ask, how far can they take Chaos? The Aether story went on for 10 plus years. Can I see Chaos going on for that long? Do I think it has enough substance? Comparing it to Aether, it's a pretty simple story, so to that I would say no. I don't think it's a long-term storyline. Then again, maybe it wasn't in their long-term plans, it was just for 2 games. It's strange, it feels like in the end, for Black Ops 4, Treyarch kind of gave up. The zombies maps weren't being promoted. Even halfway through the cycle with Dead of the Night we never had a trailer. Alpha Omega and Tag der Toten weren't really pushed. There was no cinematic trailer which we usually get for maps. Perhaps that's more to do with Activision. For all we know, they could tell Treyarch to scrap the Chaos story and start off a new one in the next COD game. The question I wanted to answer in this video is, was Chaos a failure? Yes. In no way did it reach its expectations. And 2, will it be returning in the next game? And that's a difficult one to answer. It should do, it was supposed to, but after seeing its reception, whether or not they changed their mind, well, unfortunately, I'm not a mind reader, so there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Did you enjoy Chaos? Do you think it was a success? And do you think it will continue in the next game? Thank you guys for watching. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.